Intelligent design is not an argument from ignorance. Intelligent design, ID, is dismissed by some critics as an argument from ignorance, which means it supposedly relies on gaps in scientific knowledge to infer a designer. We don't know how this happened, therefore, God did it. However, this is a profound misunderstanding of what intelligent design truly represents. Here, I will explain why intelligent design is not an argument from ignorance but rather a well-founded, positive argument based on observable, empirical evidence. Understanding the argument from ignorance. An argument from ignorance, or argumentum ad ignorantium, occurs when a conclusion is drawn based on a lack of evidence. Essentially, it asserts that because we don't know how something happened, it must be attributed to a specific cause, in this case, a designer. Critics often claim that ID proponents are simply filling in the gaps in our scientific knowledge with supernatural explanations. For example, they argue that because we don't yet fully understand the origin of life, ID asserts that life must have been designed. This criticism misunderstands the structure of ID's reasoning. Far from being a God of the gaps argument, ID is a positive inference based on what we do know about the nature of complex systems, information theory, and biological processes. ID does not hinge on ignorance but on the recognition of patterns that, based on our experience, consistently point to intelligence as the best explanation. Positive evidence for intelligent design. Intelligent design is built on positive evidence from fields such as biology, cosmology, and information theory. Let's examine 3 core pieces of evidence that make ID a strong scientific inference, rather than an argument from ignorance. 1. Information in DNA, the signature of intelligence. One of the most powerful arguments for ID is the discovery of digital code in DNA. DNA contains sequences of nucleotides that function like a language or software code. These sequences store and transmit instructions for building proteins and regulating cellular processes. Information-rich sequences like those found in DNA are not random, they are highly ordered and specified to perform a function. In all human experience, systems that exhibit this level of functional information, such as languages, computer programs, or written texts, are always the result of intelligent agents. Information, especially when it is complex and specified, originates from a mind. For instance, if you found an encoded message or a computer program, you would not assume it was generated by natural processes like wind or erosion. You would infer that someone designed it. The positive inference of ID, the discovery of information-rich structures in DNA, points to an intelligent cause because this type of information, in all known contexts, arises from intelligence, not from chance or unguided natural processes. ID doesn't say, we don't know how DNA arose, therefore it was designed. Instead, it says, we know that information comes from intelligent sources, and DNA is rich in information, so the best explanation is that it was designed. 2. Irreducible complexity. Systems that defy gradual evolution. Another core idea of ID is irreducible complexity, first described by biochemist Michael Behe. Irreducible complexity refers to biological systems that require multiple parts to work together simultaneously for the system to function at all. Take, for example, the bacterial flagellum, a molecular motor with many interdependent parts. If any one of these parts is missing, the motor does not function. Darwinian evolution, which relies on gradual, step-by-step changes, struggles to explain irreducibly complex systems because natural selection cannot select for incomplete or non-functional intermediate stages. For example, the bacterial flagellum couldn't gradually evolve part by part because it would be useless until all the parts were in place. These systems exhibit functional interdependence, which points away from random, unguided processes. The positive inference of ID. When we observe systems that are irreducibly complex, we infer design based on what we know about how complex machines are constructed. In human engineering, systems with many interdependent parts are designed by intelligent agents. The most rational explanation for the origin of irreducibly complex biological systems is that they were designed. This is a conclusion based on positive knowledge about how such systems typically arise, not an appeal to ignorance. 3. The fine-tuning of the universe. Intelligent design is not limited to biology, it also applies to cosmology. The fine-tuning of the universe refers to the precise values of various physical constants, such as the gravitational constant and the cosmological constant, that allow for the existence of life. If any of these constants were even slightly different, the universe would not be able to support life. Naturalistic explanations, such as the multiverse hypothesis, have been proposed to explain this fine-tuning, but they remain speculative and unsupported by direct evidence. By contrast, ID argues that fine-tuning is best explained by an intelligent cause because we know from experience that fine-tuning is the hallmark of design. For example, when we fine-tune machines or instruments to achieve a specific function, we do so intentionally. The positive inference of ID. The fine-tuning of the universe suggests design, not because we lack an alternative explanation, but because we recognize that fine-tuning is an indicator of intentionality. When we encounter finely tuned systems in our experience, such as musical instruments or machines, we infer that they were designed. Therefore, when we encounter the fine-tuning of the universe, the best explanation, based on what we know, is design. Intelligent design's inferential method. The method used by ID proponents is abductive reasoning or inference to the best explanation. This method doesn't conclude based on what we don't know but rather draws conclusions based on what we do know from empirical observation and logical reasoning. Here's how abductive reasoning works in the context of ID. Observation. We observe phenomena in nature that are complex, information-rich, and fine-tuned. Experience. We know from experience that complex information, irreducibly complex systems, and fine-tuning typically arise from intelligent agents. Inference. Given this background knowledge, we infer that the best explanation for these observed phenomena in biology and cosmology is intelligent design. This is the opposite of an argument from ignorance. Rather than appealing to what we don't know, ID appeals to what we do know about the origin of complex systems and information. We have a rich body of experience showing that intelligence is the source of such systems, making design the most rational explanation. Why intelligent design is not a God of the gaps argument. One of the most common misunderstandings about intelligent design is that it is a God of the gaps argument, which tries to explain gaps in scientific knowledge by invoking God as the cause. This kind of reasoning has been rightly criticized because it stops scientific inquiry and attributes unknown phenomena to supernatural intervention instead of seeking natural explanations. However, intelligent design is not a God of the gaps argument. It doesn't stop at saying, we don't know how this works, so it must have been designed. Instead, ID makes a positive case for design based on empirical evidence, logical reasoning, and established principles of information theory and engineering. It builds a case for design by showing how naturalistic explanations fail to account for the complexity and information we observe and how intelligence provides the best explanatory framework. Intelligent design encourages further investigation. For instance, researchers in the ID community pursue scientific questions about the limits of natural processes and the mechanisms through which design could be detected in biological systems. Rather than halting inquiry, ID opens new avenues of research by exploring how design principles might apply to biology and cosmology. Conclusion. A positive case for intelligent design. Intelligent design is not an argument from ignorance. It does not rest on what we do not know but rather on what we do know about the nature of complex systems, the origin of information, and the hallmarks of design. ID employs abductive reasoning, drawing on empirical evidence and logical inference to conclude that the best explanation for the complexity and fine-tuning we observe in the universe is intelligent causation. Critics who label ID as an argument from ignorance fail to recognize the positive, evidence-based case that ID makes. Far from being a stopgap explanation for gaps in scientific knowledge, ID stands as a well-supported inference, offering a coherent, scientifically informed account of the origins of life and the universe. As science continues to uncover deeper layers of complexity in biology and cosmology, the case for intelligent design only becomes more compelling. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and comment below if you agree or would like to add your thoughts. If you would like me to respond to your comment, please make a level 1 comment directly below the video. I will respond to all polite level 1 comments even if it takes me a while, due to other commitments.